To a brand new box office breakdown show here at Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinnenberg. Today, I am breaking down the box office of January 23rd to 25th, 2026. We're going to preview the movies that are hitting theaters this weekend as well. So my name is Max Dinnenberg. Welcome back, everyone, to Max Talks Movies. If you guys are new, please hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, so notified when my videos hit the channel. On this channel, I do movie reviews, TV show reviews, added theater reactions, movie franchise rankings, award season videos, and this box office breakdown show video every single Monday. So if you like any one of those things, this is the channel for you. We just hit a huge milestone of 400 subscribers. Let's get to 500. Subscribe, ring the bell, comment down below. What are your guys' thoughts on the box office? Tell me your weather situation. Did it deter you from going out to theaters this weekend? Love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section down below. And also, guys, please hit that thumbs up button. So without further ado, guys, let's get into this past weekend's box office, which was the 23rd to the 25th, 2026. And starting at number one is the new movie from Amazon, Mercy, which unseats Avatar for the first time in over a month. We have a new movie sitting atop the box office. Mercy made 11.2 million in its opening weekend. Now, I do want to say this before we even look into the specific box office reasoning. We obviously had a monster snowstorm hit the majority of the country over the weekend, and I do think it was a major factor to people not going to the movie theater. I'll just tell you my perspective. I live in Philadelphia, and it was obviously very, very cold on Friday and Saturday, but I would say, or Saturday really, but it didn't really snow here until Sunday morning, but then it did snow all day Sunday. Again, there was a lot of situations where people couldn't go to the movies at all for the entire weekend. I think a lot of people were preparing to be home all weekend. So I think we'll see really these numbers for these movies possibly next weekend, but there's supposed to be also more snow as well. So it could be a wonky box office. Now, Mercy, as I said, does unseat Avatar, but it only made 11.2 million. On a $60 million budget, you would think this movie needs to make around 150 in order to break even here at the box office. So this is still not a good opening. Chris Pratt, who really has been a monster movie star, more than people have expected. Obviously, the Guardians of the Galaxy movies did quite well. All three of his Jurassic World movies made $1 billion. Lego movies were very successful. Even that Garfield movie from a couple years ago was very successful. He stars in movies that you're like, is this going to be a hit? And then it's a hit because Chris Pratt is the lead of the movie. That didn't really happen here. It's also an AI movie in a lot of ways because obviously Rebecca Ferguson's character in the movie is playing an AI judge. And I'm not sure people want to sit in a movie theater and hear more things about AI. Some people like it, some people don't like it. But again, this is not an embarrassing opening, but it's also just not a good opening. As I said, it's a tough weekend to come out with all of the weather issues across the country. So again, good news, it unseats Avatar. Bad news is this is not a very good opening for this movie. Avatar does take its biggest drop here at the box office in its sixth weekend. 52% drop, $7 million, 378 domestically. Again, Avatar Fire and Ash is going to be by far the least successful movie of the franchise. Not just that, it was its least successful from an award season perspective. The first two movies got to Best Picture nominations. Avatar Fire and Ash only got two nominations for costumes and visual effects. So again, I think Avatar Fire and Ash is still going to be known as a successful movie for Disney. It's not a bona fide slam dunk, one of the most successful movies of all time. This is still one of the most successful trilogies of all time, and it will continue to be on watch because James Cameron, again, even though 4 and 5 have been greenlit, it seems like it's very much still up in the air. So we'll see what happens moving forward with the Avatar franchise. Zootopia 2, also in the $1 billion club, better than Avatar. It's in its ninth weekend, and which is just unbelievable. Over 2 months, it has been in here in the top five. 5.7 million, 38% drop, 400 million now domestic for Zootopia 2. Just amazing. Again, the movie's been in theaters for over 2 months, and it has not left the domestic top five. Not just that, it's number 3 here on the domestic top five. Again, Disney is the one major studio that lets its movies sit in theaters for months before going down the PVOD route, and then eventually when it hits Disney Plus. You see a lot of studios like Universal, for example, where Universal, if the movie isn't really doing well, in 17 days, it's available to rent or purchase for $25 on PVOD, like in 17 days. When movies are doing well for Disney, they let them sit in theaters. They don't make grand announcements on when these movies hit digital. So again, very smart moves. Zootopia 2. Again, also haven't heard anything about Zootopia 3, which I find kind of perplexing. But Zootopia 2 is at number 3. The Housemaid, another monster hit for Lionsgate. It dropped 51% in its sixth weekend. That's its biggest drop so far in the box office. But 4.2 million, 115 right now domestic. Out of all the movies, this one already has a sequel greenlit and filming later this year. But again, The Housemaid, it's been in theaters for a month and a half, and it's also still here in the top five. Just great news for Sydney Sweeney, really everyone involved. Again, I'm trying to repeat things because number five is where the real story is, and that is with 28 years later, The Bone Temple at number five, dropping a whopping 71% in its second weekend. 3.6 million, and the movie is only up to 20.7 domestic. I would now put that 28 years later, The Bone Temple is a disaster from a box office perspective. It is widely beloved by audiences and critics, but the problem is there's just not enough audiences here. Now, again, the first 28 years later, the third film in the franchise, which came out in June of last year, opened to $30 million, got to 70 domestic, 150 worldwide, which made it by far the most successful film in the franchise. 28 days later, got to 82 million worldwide. 28 weeks later, got to $64 million worldwide. And here we are, 2 weeks into the Bone Temple's totals, and it's up to $46 million worldwide, 20 domestic. Again, the movie that opened 6 months ago opened to $30 million, and in 2 weekends, Bone Temple was only at 20 combined. Now, again, was the weather a big contributing factor to this big of a drop off? It was. But even Zootopia 2, Housemaid, Avatar, movies that have been in theaters for over a month have had better drops than this movie. Housemaid, Avatar just had around 50% drop. Zootopia had an under 40% drop. And Bone Temple got a over 70% drop. That is a disaster. Now, again, as of now, Sony did greenlit the third movie with Cillian Murphy to star. But now I think the big question to Hollywood is, will Sony make the third movie? This is really bad numbers. I think the biggest reason why, honestly, is that the first film, which came out in June, was extremely divisive. I think the critics acted like it was a certified one of the best movies of the year, but audiences were extremely mixed on 28 years later. And for those fans that did not like 28 years later, they were not going to check out The Bone Temple in theaters. And that's what happens with sequels. We saw that with Megan 2. Even though people liked the first Megan film, people were completely against the direction of the franchise and showed that in huge numbers at the box office. Sequels are now getting tougher to make successful here in Hollywood. I think it's a big thing that's happening right now in Hollywood. Look, even Avatar, right? Way more divisive than the first two movies, is not going to get close to $2 billion. While the first two films got $2 billion, look at Zootopia 2. Was it as good as the first film for many people? No. But it felt like very much a similar film to the first Zootopia, so people watched and knew it was a guaranteed good movie for families. And I think when you're making sequels to things, especially sequels to things that are divisive, that is really tough to overcome. Now, again, Bone Temple was also already shot by the time 20 years later came out. So they were releasing this movie anyway. But this movie really does show you the divisiveness of the first movie. The first movie was a big hit, or more of a audience, more receptive from the audience. I think this movie would do quite well. But I think the power of a divisive first movie of a trilogy shows you what happens with the sequel. A lot of people gave up on the franchise. We will see if Sony does that as well. So again, as I continue to say here, I'm not going to be covering the worldwide or domestic numbers until we get more movies in 2026. We are hitting the final box office weekend of January of 2026. Coming out this weekend, Send Help is the big movie. That is the new film from director Sam Raimi, starring Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien. Sam Raimi back in the horror space. How can he do at the box office? We will find out this weekend. Also coming out this in theaters this weekend is a new film called Shelter, starring Jason Statham. A lot of his movies have been very low key, very good hits for the low budget action genre. Wrath of Man, Beekeeper, Working Man, all movies that did very well. Again, Shelter, a movie that's not getting that much promotion. So we'll see if Shelter can make a little dent here in the box office. So that is what's coming out, guys, in theaters this weekend. What did you guys see this week in theaters? What did you see this past weekend? Did the weather really affect your movie theater plans? Let me know down in the comments. Like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I'll see you guys in another video very soon.